Hello, my name is Mr. Cheney. I'm here to teach you a really introductory and basic lesson on rotoscoping. So sit back, relax and enjoy, and if you don't like it, Google rotoscoping and you'll find hundreds of other videos that might be more helpful or tailored better to your assignment. So this one here is just really quick and basic. You can see right in front of you that there's just a forearm stuck out. Now in this, I'm trying to animate a thumbs up and an OK signal. Okay, so the specific assignment here that was given to a Year 10 class is to communicate, or to animate, I should say, a word or a letter or a combination or a message from the Auslan Sign Language Bank. So just to show you how this works, now Auslan is the Australian language for the hearing impaired. So I've got this at a reduced speed just to show what it looks like, but you can see that I have done a very basic drawing and have kept the drawing incredibly simple. It's a rough outline, it's a bit of a skin tone, and in a couple of drawings you can see I've got hairs on the arm and shadows, but this one took about an hour to an hour and a half, and it's just some really basic skills that I am going to run through with you right now. Now, the first thing to do is to open up a video for you to trace over. So I'm just going to open up this, and if I just go back to the animation quickly, you can see that if I hide the background layer and then even hide the drawings, you can see that I'm working off of a video that I've imported. So the video I filmed with myself, just of my hand, because I didn't want to get my own ugly mug in the shot. But you can see just how simple it is up against a plain background. And if I put the layers on, you can see that I've just very simply drawn an animation over a video. Now you've got the exact same task, so what you're going to have to do is work out what you're going to communicate in Auslan. That's the easiest part of this project. The second part is to storyboard, so draw up what you're going to film, communicating how much detail you're going to go into, how many frames per second, what is your background going to look like, where's the camera going to be positioned, all of those storyboard details. And then thirdly, you're going to film it and import the video. That's where this part here comes into. Now we've got the first layer here. Now there's two ways of adding a new layer. There's this way here, which obviously just down here I've just created a new layer. Now there's some really important reasons why we're creating a new layer. The first one is the more layers you have, the more control you have over your drawings. When I was an architect on Photoshop, we would be using 350 to 400 layers sometimes on some projects. So the more layers you have, the more control you'll have. So you saw before how on this one here, I was able to turn layers on and off. Okay, you want that ability. Okay, you might decide to do all the skin color in one layer and then create a new layer over the top of that to do the details. Okay, just remember, the more layers you have, the more control. Just to go on a layers a little bit further, here is a self-portrait of myself that I did for the same Year 10 class, and you can see here I've got all the different layers down here, just a few, and you can see that I've got some locked. When I lock them, that means I can't work on that layer. I can't ruin the work I've done on that layer. Okay, that's really important to remember. So I've got a photo here down the bottom. Now if I switch off all these other layers, you'll be able to see that's the original layer that I'm working from, and I was tracing that. It's the same technique you're going to use for rotoscoping, but you want to lock that original layer. That way you can't damage the original or edit the original. Okay, when you go to put on all your other layers, you can see that I can see what I look like, you know, clean shaven or without eyebrows, or, you know, as a baldy or something like that. So you've got all these options with layers. So just like I said, the more layers you have, the more control you'll have. The other really good thing about layers, so you can only work on the layer that's highlighted here in blue. If I unlock it, I can actually put in a special effect that will only affect the layer that I'm working on. So just for example, if I want to make this opaque or transparent, I can do that and it only affects the layer I'm working on. Okay, so that's really handy to keep in mind whilst you're building this animation. Now, if I go over here to the animation I'm working on, I've already created a new layer. Now I said there were two ways of creating a layer. Now this one here, I'm just going to call it drawing 1. Okay, now you can see, if we look down here to the right, Photoshop's automatically put the layer next to the imported film. Now we don't want that. We want the layer to be on top of the film. Does that make sense? Because we're tracing on top of it. So we want that layer to go exactly on top of the footage that we've imported so that we can draw straight over it. Okay, now we've imported a drawing image, or a drawing layer, or a still frame layer. If we want to import a movie layer, which is fine, you can do that, but then for each frame, you've got to shrink it to however big the frame is. Does that make sense? So you're going to have to create a new layer for each frame. If you just want one layer for every frame, you got the top here to layer, to new, and sorry, I take that back. You go to layer, and you go to video layers, new blank video layer. And you can see that's already come straight in on the bottom. Now it came into where I had the pointer at, but you can see down here, now that's a video layer. So when I change frame, and you change frame by pressing this button, or this button here to go back, this button to go forward, it'll start fresh, and you've got a clean layer to work on. Now I know I've explained that really quickly, but once you get in and start having a play around, you'll understand that the best way, the easiest way in the long run to rotoscope is to import, or not to import, to create a new video layer. And you do that through the layer icon up here at the top. Just to run you through a few of the tools here, if I think I've got too much footage down here, making sure that I'm working on layer 1, which I'm just going to call footage. Now if I want to cut some of that footage out, the scissors here, I go again and I go, yep, that's what I'm happy with. I want to delete this gumph here in the middle. Simple, just press delete. That option there will come in handy when you're trimming your footage and you want to edit the original footage. Okay, you can also do that to your layer up here. Just make sure you've selected that layer and then it's highlighted in blue here. Now again, I'm going to call this drawing. And I'm just going to go back to the start and we're going to begin our basic drawing. So here I've selected a brush. Now I'm just going to bring this down here. You can see there's a brush tool up here. Now rather than using a spray can, I'm going to use a brush or a texter, and I think that's really important for this type of project because it will control your bleeding a lot more, so you'll be able to close your geometric shapes better, so when you go to use the bucket fill, the color will actually stay in. I also think the style just suits this better. Now to start off with my color, I'm just going to use this tool here, the eyedropper tool. Take a bit of color from my arm, go back to the paintbrush. Now I can also change the size of the brush if I like, so I've put it on 13. Why not? And then I'm just going to start drawing. Now this is going to be incredibly rough. You can see I'm already being really inaccurate here. This is just purely for the sake of this demonstration. Okay, when you do this and when you attempt this, you're going to have to do it to a much higher level. Okay, you'll just take your time. You might want to zoom in and get really close on the details and things like that. Now I'm going to take this bucket tool and I'm going to fill in that. Okay, so really easy. That's the quickest way to do the outline. Now if I did make a mistake and I did want to just patch up that area, guess what? You just get on that paintbrush again. And it's as simple as that. Now I might want to add detail or hair. So I'm just going to make the brush a little bit smaller, get back here, and it could be just as simple as adding hairs like this, or you might want to add a little bit of shadow and a little bit of depth here and outline where the fingers are, perhaps where a knuckle is. It's up to you how much detail you put in, okay? But there are two things that I'm going to say right now with rotoscoping. The simpler the drawing, the easier it is for you. Okay, so you need to decide from the get-go how much detail you're going to put in, because you can make things really complicated and detailed, but it just means you're going to have to be consistent the whole way through. So this frame we did in 2 seconds, but if you did a really complicated one, you're going to have to add that detail to every single frame. So if I go to the next frame, you can see that I'm starting from a blank canvas again. Now, because we've imported the original footage, we kind of know what we've got to work with. But you see this button here, this is that's your swatch menu. Ignore that. What we're looking for is this little one over here. Now in here, we've got all of our timeline settings. So a really important one that you need to get your head around at the start is to set your timeline frame. Now I've got it set at 30. The animation I'd already done, I also had it done at 30, set at 30. So it's 30 frames per second. So that means it's going to be really fluid. But if you like, you can drop it down to 20. It just means it's going to jump more. Okay? So that would be 20 frames per second. You could put it at 25. I'm going to leave it at 30. Okay? The other really handy option here is to enable your onion skins. Now what that means is you can see there's a bit of a transparent drawing. That's the previous frame. So it will show me what I've drawn on the previous slide. And that just again enhances that fluidity. So, you know, you can work on that. And it does a really, yeah, it just helps guide you through that. If I turn it on this one here, so if I just move the screen again so you can see, so if I turn on my onion skins, there you go. You can see that each frame, frame by frame, it's got the previous drawing from the previous frame. So that's really important. So hopefully they're all the basics that you're going to need to get cracking on this timeline. I'm just going to play this once more. Now you can see how slow that's moving. One thing that you can do is you can change the speed at what it moves. So if I want it to go at 100%, it speeds it up. Otherwise, if you want to slow it down, you can do that. But if I just go 100%, and then it should go a little bit quicker. So that's my introduction to rotoscoping on Photoshop. I hope it's been of some use. Please don't hesitate to ask me any questions. If you don't like it or it's not helpful, please feel free to search the internet. There are hundreds and hundreds of tutorials on how to rotoscope. But I hope this one here has been just as helpful as any of the others. Good luck.